So what we have here, Mr. Gheorghiu?
Now we have
Against Geller?
the game against Geller. Geller was a legendary Soviet player. He was considered one of the best always in that time. He's one of the best players in chess history, even now, of course, after so many years. But he was also one of the favorites of the tournament. He was one of the few grandmasters who didn't become world champions. I mean, between the very strong Soviet grandmasters, together with Keres and Taimanov and many others.
He was unlucky or wasn't
No,
strong
I
enough?
mean, it happened. He could become one of the world champion. He had the force. I mean, even now it's very strange that between all the great names of the chess history, he's only between the few players who had a positive score against the legendary Bobby Fischer. I mean, it was 3-2 or 4-3 for
Geller.
Geller. I mean, yeah, it happened. Of course, it happened. So I played d4. We had the Sicilian, and it was very interesting because I played one of the main lines of against the dragon, and he played the latest, the latest variation found for black. I mean, the best variation found in that time for black for this line. Okay, I took with the knight f6, knight c3, g6, bishop e3.
Dragon is the variation with the black bishop, right? On
The
G7.
black bishop in g7, yes. And now everything is forced. Everything is theory until now. Yeah. So f3, castle, bishop c4, knight c6, bishop b3, queen a5. Well, instead of queen a5, black can play also here knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop e6 is one of the variations. The other one is to play immediately bishop d7, queen d2, queen a5, castle, and rook c8. This is another line. But the way Geller played is the last, the last variation, the last possibility, the best possibility for black, and therefore the game was very interesting to see what happens. Queen a5, queen d2, now bishop d7, now castle, queen side. Okay, this is the main line of against the dragon in that time, and even now it's very popular. Even now they can play like this. Yeah. Rook fc8. This is the idea. Rook fc8. That is the big difference. You move the rook from f to c8, and now in many other lines you have a possibility to play later on for white in some variations to play the knight from c3 to d5. When the rook is in c8, you have time to take in e7 with check. If the rook from f is in c8, it's not dangerous because you simply play after knight e7 check, rook king f8, and black wins a piece. That is the big difference. You attack the knight. You have time to attack the knight. So okay, in this position, white played the normal move, king b1. Until now, again, everything theory. Knight is e5, and now h4.
So the race starts.
The race starts, and white wants to do something immediately against the king, with king side. So the best counterplay is knight c4. Well, instead of h4, white could play queen e2, trying to protect the square c4. And there is another variation, is also very complicated, So coming back here, white has to take in c4. You don't want to give the black bishop. The black bishop is very strong because you can trade it later on against the bishop from g7. It's a very important piece for black, So rook takes, and now knight b3. Okay, after knight b3, he played queen c7 and bishop d4. Well, until now, everything is right. We have the main variation again. In that time was considered, le dernier cri de la théorie, the last position found for black. So, and now here he played bishop e6. And well, here I had to decide what to do, and I played almost normally like this, the move h5, but it was better to continue with g4. G4 was stronger already. Instead of h5.
Yes, why?
Yeah, instead of h5, because you play g4 with the idea to trade immediately the bishop from g7. For instance, now if black plays b5 or a5, you have time to play immediately g5 and you are better with white. You can change the bishop from g7 and you are simply better. You're controlling again the central squares. The knight can come back to d4 and so on. White has a very good game. Well, after h4, h5, he played a5, and now it's very unclear who is better. Because now a5 was a very strong move from Geller, and he has immediate counterplay on the queen side, against the white king. And from this moment, we'll have a very complicated position where it's simply not clear who is better. So, all right, I didn't like the move a4, but it's probably the best move to do it here, because if you don't play a4, black comes immediately with a4, a3, and you have some problems with white, afterwards. But a4 is very, very unpleasant because you don't play on this side, you play always on the other side with white, Yeah. So now, okay.
So you lose time.
Now you lose time, and black has some very active play, in all kinds of positions. So he played very well rook b4, of course. You have to take in g6, of course.
But what is the idea of rook b4?
He wants to take a pawn in b3, or maybe to sacrifice an exchange and have a very active position with the bishop in b3. But if nothing else, he wants to take a pawn in b3. Yeah. So you have to take, and now, again, you have to find the move. Knight b5. Again, it's not very clear, not very pleasant to move the knight in b5, but it's the best way to do it. So now he has to choose what to do, where to go with the queen, in d7 or in c4. If he goes what did he play in the game? He played queen c4, yeah.
Yes.
If he played, for instance, queen d7 instead of queen c4,
yes,
yeah, probably white is better after the simple move e5 with the queen in d7. e5, when he takes in, queen d7, yes, e5,
yes,
he has to take, and now another good move, knight c5, and white is, in all positions, white is better. You recapture the pawn, and later on you have the initiative. It's better for white, Okay, so coming back to our game, he played queen c4, and now again you have to find the good move. The good move is e5, of course. So he has to take. You take, and now it seems that black has a very strong position by playing he sacrificed the exchange. He took in b3. He could take in a4. He could play rook c8. He could play a lot of other moves, but he took in b3, thinking probably that he is much better here. He has strong initiative. He gives the exchange, but has very strong initiative. He could open suddenly the position against the white king, So I have to take back, of course. He took back, and knight c3. Good. And now, in this position, instead of rook c8, it seems that black has a fantastic position by playing simply knight e4 instead of rook c8. Because if you take in e4, not in d5.
e4, sorry.
No,
yes.
In e4, attacking the queen. So the problem is that you can't move the queen, you lose a piece if you move the queen. So you have to take in e4. And in e4 with the knight or with the pawn. And after bishop takes e5, white has a very weak position, probably lost for white, because the two bishops control all the squares. He has very good counterattack, and the king has a bad position in b1, But after knight e4, black is completely lost, finally, after knight e4, instead of rook c8. Knight e4, I told you.
Knight e4, yes.
Yeah, knight c3. And now, after knight e4, that comes the very nasty move, queen d8 check, and is mate, Black is mate. You give the queen, and after bishop f8, rook h8 mate. Bishop f8 is forced,
Yes.
Yeah, and mate in h8. Okay, so he played rook c8, coming back to our game. Rook c8, and now you have to do something again against the threat bishop f5 check, very unpleasant. So the best move here is, of course, g4. Well, in that position, both of us were in very big time trouble, Geller a little bit more than myself, but very big time trouble, I don't know, a few minutes, yeah? And the position is completely unclear. It's very unclear.
It looks dangerous for both.
Yeah, nobody knows who is better in this position. So he tried to find something decisive, probably, and he overstepped a little bit the limit. But it's very difficult to see what could he do. Some other moves. And he played b5, trying to open completely the position. After b5, I took him b5, of course. And now here he had the blackout, I think, and he played knight d5. He thought probably that white is, in very big trouble here. But instead, white is winning, of course. Bishop takes g7. And now it's clear that he loses a piece, at least a piece,
Yes.
Yeah. So he took in c3, and now bishop takes back, and it's no mate anymore, not even, perpetual. I mean, maybe he thought he has at least perpetual, but it's not perpetual here. So he played after bishop f6 because he threatens mate in h8.
Yes.
And now simply queen c2, and he's rook down. So queen a2 check. Well, the rest is clear. Yeah. So now rook e1, and it's no defense for black. There's rook down for nothing, and even worse that white has to move, and white took in e7 check. Now it's very clear. The rest, of course, is...
He played a couple of more moves.
Yeah, he played a little by inertia, like that, not to give up immediately. And here he resigned, of course. Yes. 2 rooks down and mate, of course. Yeah. Well, very interesting game, very, unclear until the last moment. And, of course, some mistakes, of course. For him, for
when
me.
When you are in time trouble, even if you are super grandmaster, you still...
I don't say the game is perfect, but it was very, very interesting against a very strong player. I mean, therefore, But with some mistakes, of course. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. But as I told you before, the white could improve if they have to play it again. The best move here when I played h5 instead of h5 is g4. And after g4, white is clearly better. There, the advantage is clear, for white, in the opening.
Yes. Yeah. All right.